Hey there, this is Tom, Tom's Tech Show. Today we're going over the Orville, The Road Not Taken. Hey there, everybody, this is a Tom's Tech Show. Today we're covering the last episode of this season for Orville, The Road Not Taken. They're definitely steering away from the blatant humor that they were doing in the first season and getting back to kind of extreme basic, just Star Trek type episodes. And we got a lot of couple crossover things that I saw here in this episode. Some music and stuff that was extremely straight out of Star Trek The Motion Picture that I saw. Which is, I don't know how they're doing this, whether they have to go and ask Paramount, can we fake this up? Can we use this? I have, let's see, I'm drinking today from my big Avengers cup. We've got some lemonade in here. But I do that just so I can use my extra little camera that I have over here. So if I need to show something that's physical, I can, put it in front of a camera. Makes it very easy, very quick and easy. Of course, we also do have the Skycam, which is up here, so that if you want to see what's going on anywhere behind me, we can do that too. Okay. So anyway, let's head over here to what's going on in the Orville. So it started out with these guys wandering across the snow. We don't know who they are. We're still in limbo at the beginning of the episode. Are we ignoring the yes/no timeline? Are we going to, what are we doing? We're not sure. And of course they go and they grab this box that looks like a toaster, which turns out to be a food replicator. But we do see that some the Kalon show up, and lo and behold, their heads come off and can fly and chase them. I saw that, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. This definitely completely reminded me of which Star Trek movie was it? Insurrection, where they're on the planet, and they keep sending those little things, the probes down to tag them, right? It's kind of the same thing. You can hear, the little flying around, buzzing heads, shooting things at them kind of thing. Definitely kind of a take from that. Very much a parallel. So we get to the ship and we find out that it's Ed and Gordon are there. And so we're definitely in the no timeline. We definitely see this is the no time. You see in the back of this window there, you see the little food replicator. And of course, the first thing they pull out, what are you going to have? They're going to have a Twinkie. So the least healthiest thing, and wouldn't you do that? Like, this might be your last meal. What are you going to have? Let's just pull out a Twinkie out of my hat and tell the machine to make me a Twinkie. Okay. So they get captured by some supposed scavenger ship, and lo and behold, it's Kelly. Now, we know in the no timeline that Kelly knows that there's another timeline, and she's the only one that knows another timeline. There's another timeline. So she's been able to either slowly over time be able to find and convince the other crew members of the Orville to come with her. So we kind of see that, possibly since 7 years ago, she's been working actively trying to find, some of the other crew members and stuff of the Orville to try and get everybody back together. So they get them and they go to this place, and they found out that Kelly has some enzyme or something in her brain that she's doesn't have, so that's why the memory wipe didn't work, and that's why this whole thing is bad. So they got to go find some of that chemical, and they know someplace where it's at. So we head over here and they knock on the door, and then of course we get Yaphet sticking his head out the window at the little porthole, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is a callback to, yes, when they go to Jabba's palace in Star Wars, and a little something comes out of the little hole and explains something. I just thought that was very parallelish. That was pretty good. A definite callback, and repeated that, kind of done. So I like that. And then behind the door, of course, we have Halston Stage repeating her role guest starring as Alara Gaton. So she's there. She helps them, gets the little chemical thing, whatever. And then to escape, they got to go hide in the edge of a black hole. So I don't think you could actually do that, but it's TV. But the effects and everything, that's something I've noticed throughout this whole thing, is the special effects have gotten to be so efficient, and, you know, having it be less of a cost burden on, you know, the show than, say, something 10 or 15 years ago, that we can get amazing scenes and amazing images from the show. So through this whole altercation, they do capture a Kaylon, and wouldn't you know it, that they find out that John finds out that they have some kind of network that connects all of the Kaylon together so they can all talk to each other. Could that be... We're already paralleling them from before. We're already paralleling them that they are similar to the Borg in many ways. So similarly, again, if we're going to continue with that, they're going to have some type of network that they can all talk to each other. So maybe in this episode, maybe they can use that to go get information, just like they did in, you know, Insurrection and well, that was in the original Borg episodes in The Next Generation. They were able to use that and communicate with the other machines and tell them to go to sleep, and then they got Picard out and all that fun stuff way back when. But we're at Orville. Okay, so where's the Orville? The Orville is in the bottom of the ocean and the bottom of the Marianas Trench. So they got to go get it. So down they go, and who do they find? They find Bortus sitting on the ship. So he's been there, you know, for probably several years. Well, depending on the timeline, it could have been, you know, a year or more, depending on when all of this happened. From, you know, the battle could have happened sooner from before. We don't know. Okay, so here's Gordon, and he's pulling out. He's going to go, and they're trying to pull the ship up off the bottom of the floor of the ocean, out of the Marianas Trench, and he says, "Come on, baby, fly." And I'm like, wait a minute, I have heard that before. That was a callback, I think, to the Hunt for Red October. They're in a battle, and I think they were in the Marianas Trench. I think so. So they were submarines going around back and forth, and the submarine Dallas has goes in front of a torpedo in the water, and they're purposefully taking the navigation of the torpedo to follow the Dallas, and then they have to basically get to the surface as soon as possible, so they, you know, blow all tanks and do all this other stuff to throw the sub up to the surface while they launch countermeasures to try and get the torpedo to blow up. And the guy in the submarine says, "Come on, Big D, fly." So I think that was a direct callback to that. Somebody in there must be, on the writers of the episode, must be a Hunt for Red October fan. So they kind of added that in there. Or I could be completely wrong. You never know. Okay, so there's the submarine coming out of the water. That's in Hunt for Red October. So now we're talking about, now we need to send Dr. Finn back, and how do we do that? And it's going to be, you know, very dangerous, because we have to route all power again, just like they did in the first time when they sent Kelly back. So, and we do get some more conversations between Ed and Kelly, which I really, you know, we have often in shows, you need a couple of people in the show to be able to just sit around and converse about things, about life, about relationships, about things that are going on, and how they can have, you know, this more intimate, personal part of the show. I mean, you can have things just go on and have events happen, but unless you get into how people feel and what's going on and what they're struggling with, and is this going to work, and are you worried about it, am I worried about it, things like that helps you as the viewer connect into the show. Just makes it really brings the show together that they do, some of these little conversations between people and stuff. Sometimes it's Dr. Finn and other people, but you have to have that core kind of, it's the Kirk, Spock, McCoy thing that they had, right? McCoy was always the overly emotional, Spock was always the rational person, and then Kirk had to kind of balance that information that he was getting before he would make decisions, and be able to do that, that triangle of a relationship there. So this is just two, but they play it off really well, and how they, through their past relationship and through all their past experiences, and how that's playing out, and how it kind of keeps the show going, and keeps the show intimate for us, the viewer. If you don't have in a show, if you don't have intimate conversations like this, where the actor and the character shows their real emotions and their worries and their fears and their doubts and things like that. If you don't have any of that, then it makes it very difficult to connect to what's going on with the people in the show. Then you don't care. Somebody that comes in and is just spouting, platitudes and, blah order conversations that don't mean anything, you don't connect. And then, if they get killed or go off the show, then it's like, whatever, don't bother with putting that kind of a character in there. If you want a character that people are going to care about, that people are going to come and watch the show for. And that's why when Halston Sage left, she had a couple of episodes where she was the lead, and we were exploring different things about her life, her fears, her challenges, her family, and you get us, familiar and acquainted and connected with this character, and then you take her away. I know it's Hollywood and actors and people have other things to do and they're going to move around and whatever, but it makes it kind of difficult. So they handled it well. The new one, Jessica Zohar, she is great. They did some episodes about her, which ended up being really, really good. So I think they handled it well. And we have to, as viewers, know people are going to come and go, right, kind of thing. But anyway, so here we're going to turn it on. We're going to turn this little machine on and do stuff. And of course, you cannot have, a season, whatever, of a sci-fi show where you don't trick the audience somehow into having your main ship being blown up. They did it many times in Next Generation, where they would have something happen and the ship blow up, and then they were repeating a timeline over and over, and then the one where they sent the other Enterprise C back after everything being blown up, a couple different times. So here we have our Orville ship being blown up. So we don't know at this point. Did she make it back? Did we get Dr. Finn back to the past? Yes, we did, of course, because then she arrives, and Kelly's like, "Hey, wait a minute," and they talk about how it's not, the mind wipe didn't work and everything else. And then I do notice that behind her here again is, we had last episode, we had the Journey Escape album cover, but back here behind her on the wall again is a Journey Escape album cover. So I don't know if this was the writers thinking that we need to put this in two places, right? In this, I started watching some of the other episodes, trying to see if it was there. I haven't seen it yet. In any of the other ones, I thought it might be like I don't know if you've ever watched the television show Psych, where every episode they would have a pineapple somewhere in the episode that you had to find as the episode went through. I don't know if this was going to be kind of the same thing. Every episode you have to find the Journey album cover in every episode. I don't know, but these two episodes, we had the Journey album cover, so we'll have to continue to watch and see if that continues to happen. But anyway, Dr. Finn gives her the biological thing that the compound that her brain needs in order to make the memory wipe work. And then she does the memory wipe, then everything disappears, and we go, and she answers the phone when Ed calls the morning after the first date, and then she says yes, and we fade out on the episode. So we've gone and we've corrected. We're now back to the yes timeline. So I like this little jaunt they took, a couple of episodes to go out. I know they did a couple of two-parters, but I hope they don't go off on the Deep Space Nine kind of 8-episode story arc kind of thing. There are not enough episodes in a season, that they're doing in order to be able to really do that successfully. This was what episode was this? This was number 14. So that's 14 episodes, and this was a longer season. So I don't think you want to do like a 6-season arc of episodes. These 1 and 2 ones that match together, that kind of cliffhang you and keep you coming back for the next episode. Then you resolve it and you're like, okay, and then can move on. I like that. The Identity Part 1 and Part 2, that was an incredible set of episodes, just showing what you really can do with this show that they've got set up. And like I said, they're definitely moving a little bit away. I mean, Gordon's always got the quippy sense of humor kind of thing, like where he's like, oh, we got the replicator, what are we gonna do? I'm gonna make a Twinkie. That's funny. It's not campy. I'm gonna interject something here into the conversation because I think it's been 2 minutes in the episode and we haven't had a funny line. It's like natural flowing comedy into the thing, and having a character who is actually has that kind of funny, campy sense of humor. Unlike what they did to Finn in The Last Jedi, where they just made him a joke, right? I mean, you don't want a character who's just a plain, worthless joke of a character. I mean, that's horrible, stupid writing. But if it's part of their personality, where they have strengths that Gordon knows how to fly a ship. He knows how to, kind of do all the challenges of getting the ship where they need it to go. And he's got this quirky sense of humor, where he'll do different things and say different things and stuff. So that makes it well-rounded. That makes the character actually have purpose, but they just have this sense of humor around them. And that I like. Just putting somebody in a suit with hoses and having them dance all over the screen of a major motion picture is just, well, everyone knows The Last Jedi is the worst movie ever made. So, but we're talking about the Orville today. So just all these characters continuing to just grow on me. I just love the show so much. And this episode, another one, again, clearing up the yes-no timeline. So starting next season, which we have not had an announcement for yet, next season, season 3, we'll be back to the regular yes timeline, and everything should be back kind of to normal, kind of to Orville normal, as it were. So I'm very much looking forward to that. We do have some other things coming out that are Orville related, right? We have comic books, trading cards. I'm really hoping that they will get regular action figures at some point. The regular 5.5 or 7-inch, 6 or 7-inch, maybe. I don't know if you want 10 or 12-inch action figures. Those are more like dolls kind of thing. I don't know if you want one of those, anything like that. But if all this keeps going and they can get 3 or 4 or 5 seasons, I'm really hoping that we'll get a convention and being able to get them to come to the convention and do things like that. I mean, that would be ideal, right? I mean, I think that would just be huge to be able to do that, because I think there definitely is a following enough. Of all the videos that I do a very large variety of videos, and Orville ones definitely get a lot of views for my small channel anyway. And I know a lot of people out there, there's some other Orville channels and stuff out there that do pretty well, so it's definitely a love show. And I'm going to keep watching and keep talking about it. I mean, I'll make some other videos while we're in between the next season or the season of the announcements and everything else. I want to get the comics and trading cards and everything, and we'll kind of go over all that stuff. And it'll be fun. Hopefully, we'll get regular figures. Somebody will sign some merchandiser on to do figures and ships, because I mean those will go like crazy, I'm sure. So, all right, I've already gotten way too far over, but it's the Orville, and I love talking about the Orville. All right, so we'll see you next season and in between. So take care.